Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. You know what that means. Andy and I are here to review many, many comics for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
We're with Infinity Flux Comics in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And every Tuesday, after we're done bagging and boarding all the new comics, we divide up the ones that we think most people want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Some are just our favorites, too.
Yep.
And we read them, and we do this show where we review the comics in a very spoiler light manner. We'll tell you what goes on in them, but we won't tell you the stuff that'll sort of take away the pleasure of reading
Yeah.
them for yourself. So we'll mention if there's a first appearance, we'll mention if there's a major death, but we're not going to tell you all the grand
Yeah.
details because that's just not fun.
No, that's what reading it's for.
Exactly. We want to connect people with the books that they're going to like. We want you to go in your shop tomorrow and know what you're searching for and what you're going to enjoy and what you're not. So, I'd say pretty medium-sized week.
Medium-sized week, but with some big books
So-
that I think people have really been waiting for.
Yep. So these are just the first ones we're going to go over. We each have stacks of books that
Yes.
we'll go into. We're also going to show off the variants. So without further ado, what do you want to begin with, Andy?
Let's talk about the big one, the one that I think people have been talking about for a long time. That's been making the news, everything. This is Mom,
Yes.
or Mother of Madness. So, if you've been living under a rock, this is by Emilia Clarke, who I think a lot of households know the name Emilia Clarke from
Right.
Game of Thrones, from Star Wars Solo. I mean, incredible actor, and just like with Keanu Reeves moving over to the comics world, we're getting another celebrity moving into the comics world. And I think it's really cool. You can say whatever you want about, actors are getting in our world, but I think this brings a lot of really positive attention
It
that
does.
maybe comics would normally get. And I'll say, with Keanu Reeves' Berserker, he went in hard with the action and the violence and the over the top. Emilia Clarke is going into this hard in another way. So this is a really interesting book. This is 40 pages. It's only going to be 3 issues, she says, for the first story arc. It's co-written by Marguerite Bennett, who comic readers may know has worked on tons of stuff.
Yes.
And Emilia Clarke brought her in. Emilia Clarke came up with the story and wrote it, but said, I need someone who knows how to comicify it. Because it's a unique way that you have to tell a story through comics.
Yeah, the panel by panel.
Right. It's a certain way you
method.
break things down and everything. And then the artist is Layla Leiz, I think. Leiz. Leiz. Fantastic art. I think that is definitely one of the highlights of this book is the art. Feels very maybe Joelle Jones. Just colorful, heavy line use. Just really, really beautiful, beautiful characters. And this is interesting because it has a lot of humor to it. It has a lot of tongue-in-cheek to it, but it is tackling very big issues, just about like social situations, and it's written by women, about women, but for everybody.
So does somebody have powers in this book?
Yeah, so the main character is Maya, and this whole first issue feels more like what would be a prequel to the bigger story. This is her. She kind of breaks the fourth wall, Deadpool-esque, where you'll see a big scene and she's in the room and she'll be looking up at the camera and telling you about the situation or whatever, and that goes through her entire life, talking about growing up, her parents. This is set in kind of a near future. She kind of comes from a line of scientists who are doing experiments. It is very, I don't want to use the word confusing. I think it takes a lot of concentration and absorbing it. I was reading a bunch of people talking about it, saying it took them about 2 reads to really absorb everything. Because some of it's a little trippy, it's a little...
Yeah, just look at the cover.
Yeah.
The cover's been haunting me ever since they sent the poster and we hung it in the shop.
Yeah, so the main character does have powers. They come on sporadically when she's least expecting it. Different moods and things change the powers, and you kind of see how she uses that in not very typical ways. This isn't a very traditional superhero story. Um, the character is, I would say, less kind of iconic or idealistic in the terms of, a Superman or a Wonder Woman. She's very real. She's a mom. She has kids. She's the dialogue will come across. I think why some people have a hard time when they first read it absorbing it, because it's a little chaotic, but that just goes to reflect how a human is very chaotic and how they think. And you're juggling a bunch of things, like this character is juggling family and work and these superpowers. So you kind of get a lot of very human, in the mind narration that I think was really strong.
Madness is in the title. So.
It is, and I think that's really played out in a way, and not a negative light, but in like a very this character is very real, and how she deals with situations. She does things that you would not see a main superhero do, but you kind of be like, if I was in that situation, I might do it that way too. Like the way she goes about it. The way it is a setup issue is, you see this, I'm guessing this is her costume on the cover. You don't get that till the very end. So this is definitely setting up what the next two issues. There's some underlying story that I feel like is going to be bigger going forward, kind of what the central thread is. You get that a little bit towards the end of the issue, but it's mostly focused on origin. What are her powers? When do they come about? Based on different things. A lot of the art is great when it's showing how the different powers work. But I would say, as Emilia Clarke says in the letter for this, it is for everybody. This is not. I feel like this would be for everybody. Maybe not everybody will enjoy it, but it is accessible to everyone. That being said, it is on the mature side. Maybe not for younger fans, but it is something that, whether you're girl, guy, whatever, you can pick it up and understand it and enjoy it. I really liked it. I will definitely have to read it a second time to fully grasp everything in it.
Yeah, I mean, with a cover like that and Emilia Clarke behind it, I plan on giving it a read. Just you won me over for one issue for sure. I gotta see what that thing is about.
Yeah, so super cool variant covers for this as well. So we have the Bartel variant.
That cover is so Bartel.
Yeah,
also
this is the colors and everything. Yeah. This is the Lays variant. That's the interior artist. You get a little hint there of kind of how the interior art looks. It's really, really nice. This one has a lot of variants, a lot of unique variants. So we have, of course, the sketch variant. But that is just the white sketch variant, because we also have a red sketch variant, a yellow sketch variant, a pink sketch variant, and a blue sketch variant.
I don't know if I knew they were doing all those.
I think they were kind of based on how many you ordered. They just kind of randomly.
Okay.
It was a random ratio, I believe. Also, some really cool incentives, and just wait till you get to the end to see the coolest incentive. First off, we have the 1 in 10 Lays variant, which has some actual interior panels on it.
That was what I was figuring.
Which you can see the art there. The colors, everything, so nice.
What are we pricing that one at?
For the 1 in 10 is $15.
Okay.
Then we have the 1 in 25, which is the Virgin A cover, that we are selling for $20. We have the Virgin of the Bartel, we're selling for $30. This is the 1 in 50. We have, this one's unique because this is the Mirka Andolfo variant. 1 in 100, which is cool because that's one of the ones like you can't get, virgin, non-virgin. It's like,
right.
You have to get up to this tier to be able to get the Mirka Andolfo cover.
Yeah, the original cover.
We're selling for $75. And then here's the big one. I actually have it set aside so it doesn't get messed up. This is the 1 in 500, signed by Amelia Clark. You see there in the corner.
I like that she put the heart
Yeah,
with her name.
really cool. We are selling this for $400.
And obviously, we only have one of those.
We only have
while
one. We
supplies
do not have a
last.
stack of signed ones, unfortunately. But, you know, if you remember how Berserker had the signed Keanu Reeves one, how that shot up in price. Very, very rare. Very few stores, I'm guessing, got a 1 in 500 to get the awesome signature.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been waiting to hear about that book.
And I really liked it. I know, I am positive you'll read some mixed reviews on it, but I say definitely give it a shot and really kind of digest it, because it's got a lot of layers and a lot of fun in it and a lot of seriousness. It's a very complex but cool book.
All right, so I get the pleasure to talk about my pick of the week, Moon Knight number 1. This book was fantastic. I think this is a must-grab book, and I'll give you several reasons why. This does a very good job, whether you know Moon Knight or not. It is halfway a catch-up issue. So half of it, Moon Knight is talking with a psychiatrist, which of course makes sense. He is a very addled character.
Yes.
And when he talks with the psychiatrist, they go over all the things from his past. So you'll learn a little bit about him as Mark Spector, what he did before he was Moon Knight. He did all the covert operations around the world. But it even goes into the storylines that happened lately with the Avengers, with the god Khonshu sort of turning on everyone, leaving him. Because he is a priest of Khonshu, but his god has kind of betrayed him. And so it's a very weird place he's left in, that he still is the high priest of this god, but they're not on good terms anymore. So half the issue is sort of a catch-up issue. Let you know, here is who Moon Knight is, here's what he's been going through. And it's done really well, very entertainingly. And the other half is progression. What is going on with him now? What is this plot line going to be about? So he has begun this thing called the Midnight Mission. And by mission, I don't mean it's like, it's not his goal. It's an actual place. Like, people can come to this mission and get help from Moon Knight. So for those of you who don't know, Moon Knight, he is a defender of those who travel at night. I like how specific that is.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, that makes sense. I mean, Batman is kind of that way in a way too in Gotham. So Moon Knight, if you travel at night, there's a problem. He's going to try to be the hero to help you with his powers. So half of it telling you, here's what you missed, here's who this character is. The other half, here's what's going on now. Since we keep this a spoiler light show, I'm not going to tell too much about what's going on, but I will say it involves vampires. I've noticed Marvel has been putting more and more vampires in things lately.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like Blade is also becoming sort of a bigger deal with where they're going. I guess it's no spoiler to say he is not in this issue, though. So vampires are in it. Doesn't mean that Blade's there. But the other reason you might want to pick up this issue is there is a first appearance of a new major character who looks to fit heavily into the Moon Knight mythology. That's the most I can say about it. You will meet this character uncostumed. You will meet this character by the end in a costume. But I would say a major first appearance for a Moon Knight character. And we know the Moon Knight show is coming. I have been gathering every Moon Knight thing people want to sell me. And so that's another reason that this is my pick of the week. But in general, it was a great read. It was really good, really solid first issue, good art, and we have a lot of awesome variant covers that I'm going to show you now too. The first one, this is the John Romita Jr. cover. Then, let's see if you guys can guess who this is. That's right, the Todd Knock cover. I'm just going to replace Andy.
Oh, yeah.
With it.
I'm much cooler as Moon Knight.
I kind of like that one, though.
Yeah.
Honestly. And then we have the Raz cover. This is for Captain America's 80th anniversary. Next up, we have the Delato. Delato often does the real dark covers. So I like what he did working with the whites this time. And then we have the Zafino. I mean, I bet all these cover artists just jumped at the chance to do Moon Knight. Moon Knight he's got such a great costume. Then here is the Gist variant. And we have the Scotty Young. I like that one. Okay, and we have a couple incentive variants. This is the 1 in 25 Kyle Hotz variant. Kyle Hotz, of course, did some of the most memorable Moon Knight covers ever back in the 90s. So we're selling this one for $20. And here is the Torque variant. It's a 1 in 50 for $25. So it was a really good read. I was very happy to be able to grab that one and review it.
Yeah. I feel like Marvel has finally been like, okay, we need to bring Moon Knight up to, like A-tier level, because he's had a lot of fans. But if you were a fan of Moon Knight, you're always like, what character? I like Moon Knight. And you're waiting for people to go, who's that?
Who?
But he's always been a super cool character. And you could even tell with kind of the number of variant covers that Marvel will allot to something, like how big of a deal this is. And I think Moon Knight, I don't think we're going to see Moon Knight disappear before it's time for a show. I think he's going to stay one of the top characters.
I think so too. And it reminds me back, when I was a kid, I loved the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I would try to talk with fellow peers about them, and no one would care at all.
Yeah.
And then the movie hit, and now I can talk with somebody, who's in line at a gas station.
Yeah.
And we all know Guardians of the Galaxy. So I
think
Moon Knight. Exactly. I think Moon Knight's going to be a
people.
Big
You're
deal.
going to be like, hey, I'm heading out to the store, and someone's going to be like, it's late. You better hope Moon Knight's watching out for you.
So more on that. Yesterday, my mom brought up Loki to me, and it's like, what? My mom is talking about Loki?
Yeah, that's super weird. Not even Thor, but a supporting character.
Yeah.
So another big book this week, which is kind of a surprising big book, but we kind of learned with the solicitations that this was going to be a big one. This is Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt. So this is kind of our first one-shot tied in with War of the Bounty Hunters. And they're going to be doing several of these. This one, it says Jabba the Hutt on it, but the bigger story in this is it is the first appearance of a new character named Diva Lumpop, which is I know a lot about Star Wars. I could not identify like her species right off. She's humanoid, but with green skin, feathered hair. You'll see her on one of the variant covers here in a second. But I feel like she is going to be a very big deal. So why is this issue is about, it takes place during War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. That first issue where we learned how Boba Fett lost Han and Carbonite, how it was stolen. This is when Jabba catches wind of that, hey, he was supposed to be delivering that to me, and where is he? And so Boba Fett is Jabba's like #1 bounty hunter. He'll send him out on missions all the time. Well, Boba Fett's not answering his calls. So he rings his old favorite, who is Diva. And she's kind of like, I don't want to work with that guy anymore. He's it kind of seems like she owes him something, and that's why she comes into this. Jabba apparently is holding something over her head, and it's not money. It's something else. We don't learn a whole lot about it, because this is more just an introduction to the character, but it's a very interesting setup for a character that seems like it's going to go a long time. This jumps between kind of during the events of the Alpha issue and unnamed years previous, when Jabba sent Diva on a mission, but also sent Boba Fett with her to work together. And so with that, you kind of see who she is as a character, what her kind of special abilities are. She has one thing that is very disturbing, a kind of an ability that you'll just have to read it to see, but very cool. And what we know about from the solicitations, it's not really brought up, but we know she is a character who's been around since the High Republic era.
Yeah, she's like ancient.
She's ancient.
She still looks
it
young.
just seems like maybe her species is just very long-lived. And
Right.
it kind of feels like that's how she knows Jabba, because Hutts are also very long-lived species. So maybe that's where they met back in that time. I'm not sure, but I can just bet that she is going to show up in a High Republic book now because of that. So really cool issue. Kind of sets you up for how Jabba finds out about the big auction for the Hutts. So that is War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt, #1. Awesome variants for it. So here is your good look at Diva. Very like punk bounty hunter look. So that is kind of technically her first cover appearance would be this cover and a incentive variant that we are already sold out of.
I'm not surprised at all.
So we have the Kamenkoli headshot variant. You just got to determine when do you want to. Where's the head start in the.
I want to see the
blog.
Todd Knock Jabba the Hutt headshot.
Yeah, where do you stop it?
Yeah.
Which chin do you decide to draw the line under? And the other thing I did want to show that kind of goes right alongside it is War of the Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader. This is issue number 14. So this one, they kind of go hand in hand. This one also is kind of your story of, if you read the War of the Bounty Hunters #2, you know, no spoiler, Vader shows up. And if you're wondering, how did he get here and how did he find out about this? This issue is kind of your, how is Vader involved in this this whole situation? What are his motives? I thought this was a great issue. Mostly focuses on this character on the cover, Administrator Moore, who seems like going to play a pretty big part in the Vader book coming up. We're not sure. I believe this is the same character from the prequels that was hanging around with Palpatine and everything, but she's getting definitely some more character development than she ever got in that. So if you're reading War of the Bounty Hunters and you want the full experience, see how all the characters are involved, this is another one good to pick up. If you're like, Vader's here, I don't really care how we got here, not necessarily a pickup, but still highly recommended because Greg Pak is just knocking it out of the park on Darth Vader. Also, we have the Kamenkoli headshot variant, and then this one, which deep cut Star Wars fans. So this is the Lucasfilm Anniversary variant. And these characters on the cover, if they don't look familiar, it's because they are from the Star Wars Droids animated show from back in the day. And I think it's cool. I'm not sure, but this could be the first time we've seen them interpreted like this. Because, of course, the original one looked very 80s cartoon. Mm-hmm. And to see them kind of as very, like, real characters, just like straight comic book characters, really, really cool. I hope they do this with the Ewok movies, the Ewok animated series. Go all out. Give us all, like, comic book versions of these crazy characters.
Battle for Endor.
Yes. Caravan of Courage.
Yep. Okay, another big one this week I read was Nightwing number 82. So right on the cover it says, The Mystery of Melinda Zuko, and that is what this issue is all about. In issue 81, Melinda Zuko, who is the new mayor of Bloodhaven, reveals to Dick Grayson, she at least claims to be related to him, his sister or half-sister. So this issue is very cool because it has an extended flashback all about Dick Grayson's parents and how this character could possibly be related to him. And more than the story just being really well written and good, the art of the flashback is done different. I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah, when the artist can make the flashback, the art just feels a little older. The colors are a little bit more like comics from the past. They did a fantastic job of all the flashback stuff of seeing Dick Grayson's parents back when they were in the circus. And, you know, how could this happen? I can't say how because, you know, you'll have more fun reading it yourself. But I will say that you get this story of Melinda Zuko from someone who intimately knew Dick Grayson's parents, someone who knew them well. And the tale adds a whole new dimension to Dick Grayson and Nightwing. I mean, if it's all true.
Right. That's the biggest thing is you got to make it to the end of the story, the story arc to be like, okay, let's see how much of this is in stone. But it seems like they're really, building upon his character.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like Melinda Zuko is a major new character who isn't going anywhere at all. I mean, not only is she claiming to be his sister, but she's also the mayor of Bloodhaven.
Yeah.
And there's even a third dimension to her as well that I won't really go into. All right, we have this variant by Jamal Campbell. So many good Nightwing variants. And one other thing I wanted to show is
Great cover on this one.
Number 81, second print, is out as well. And that cover was done by Redondo, is the artist on this one. Yeah, really cool cover. So, of course, this was the issue where Melinda Zuko reveals that she is Dick Grayson's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the first full appearance of Heartless, the new villain in the series who rips out people's hearts using a machine.
Didn't have to go far for that name.
No.
Another new number 1 this week from DC is Blue and Gold. This is a series that I feel like has been in the talks for a long time. Booster Gold, especially Booster Gold and Blue Beetle as like best friends, have had a long history, and a lot of fans really love that goofy bromance they have, where you've got Blue Beetle, who's kind of the klutz, and you have Ted Cord Blue Beetle, who's the tech guy, but they find themselves in crazy situations. Well, they're back with their own miniseries by their Booster Gold's original creator, Dan Jurgens.
Oh.
And Dan Jurgens has the Blue Beetle voice. Other people can write him, but there's a certain humor to Booster Gold, but also a very like dark, because he's from the future. He has many reasons for why he became a superhero and act the way he does. It's not all just because he's that kind of person. There's a whole really cool origin of Booster Gold. But this one tackles a very funny subject of Booster Gold and his kind of how the public sees him. People think he's really lame. And Jurgens knows this. Real people and people in the comic, he kind of make fun of him. So in this, through the entire thing, Booster Gold is live streaming on, of course, they're all your like fake services like Face, Nook, and
Hulu.
Yeah, they're all the kind of made up social media things. But it begins with Booster Gold trying to stop this alien ship, and the whole time you can read the comments of people watching it, and they would rather just see Booster Gold lose or get disintegrated in the jets of the alien thing, or call them the wrong names and stuff because no one knows. And you can kind of figure out by the comments that maybe some of them are people you recognize because one person brings up like, oh, well, where's the rest of the Justice League International, like Fire and Ice? And one's like, yeah, and Guy Gardner, he's the coolest. And the little logo for it is a GG. Like, it's just Guy Gardner on there himself. So it's really fun. It definitely doesn't take itself too serious, but there's a big situation. At first, you're kind of like, this kind of seems fake. There's even people in the comments calling out this alien invasion like, oh, this is just a publicity stunt. But we see inside the ship, and this is actually a big threat that only Booster Gold can take care of. Well, when Booster Gold gets in trouble, he has to call in his best friend, Blue Beetle, to come and work together to stop it. So it's a really fun first issue, getting you reacquainted with the characters, their attitudes, the kind of the motivation of the series. And also, what did the Justice League think of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle? because Booster Gold can kind of be I don't know, more of a hindrance than a help.
Right.
But they might think a little bit different about Blue Beetle, and maybe they want Blue Beetle to maybe join them. But Booster Gold is kind of a package deal. So, really fun issue. I'm excited to see where this goes. Hopefully, bringing these characters back into the forefront, getting more people to recognize them. I really liked it, but I am a big Booster Gold fan from forever. So, really cool variant for this. This is the Johnson variant, where you can.
Booster Gold is still supposed to be getting his own movie someday.
Yeah, they've talked about it being a blue and gold movie.
Yeah.
About Booster Gold and
the
Blue
last
Beetle.
I read on it, the script is done, and they're literally just waiting on the green light from the production studio.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this is. I would not be shocked if maybe this was like a sample script or something. You know, like an idea that was tossed about or talked about as a possible thing, because it definitely has just like a cinematic introduction that's really, really cool.
Okay, so I read Dark Blood, the big new book out from Boom this week. There's been a lot of anticipation for this book, a lot of articles out before it arrived, so now I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So this begins back in 1955, and we follow our main character on the cover here. He is a World War II veteran. He flew planes back in World War II. There is some sort of event called the Variants, okay? And I don't say that to be vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but you don't really learn what it is. It's literally said in sort of titles at the top, before the variants, during the variants, that sort of thing. You figure it has something to do with the powers this person has. So what are this character's powers? I'm not exactly sure yet. You get to see a snippet of them. This is very much a setup issue. This is another one. I say this often. I wish it was a double size issue, because by the end you're like, oh, okay, some stuff's happening, but I'd like to see some more. The art is very clear, but the story by the end of it remains a little hazy because it jumps around through time. So as I stated, at the beginning it starts in 1955 with this man being harassed by some small-minded individuals, and he has this power. You can tell he knows he has it and he doesn't want to use it, but he kind of gets put in a position where he has to use the power. Now, how powerful is he? I don't know. You get to see him do some things. It's like, wow, he has, I certainly can't do those things, but I don't know how powerful he is. There are also parts of this book that flash back to 1945, before the variants, when he is in the war. And it seems like something must happen to him in this time to maybe set up him having powers, but you don't really get to see what that is. You just get to see some of his time in the war. So I think that's about all I can say on this book. It really was more of a setup than anything. Get you to know the character, get you to see what's going on. But I will say the solicitations for this said that he's powerful enough that he could change the course of history. And since it seems like the main thrust of this book is going to be in 1955, I think that's when he'll be changing the course of history, not back in 1945. So I don't know what to expect of it going forward.
Yeah.
So interesting setup and premise, however. I'm willing to. I want to check out the next one. I think by the next one, I'll really have a better.
That's why it's so much like when Wind first came out and everything. They gave us that double-sized first issue. It felt so like, oh, I got this. It's like, boom, just let everybody do a double-sized first issue, and it's a great introduction.
Yeah, this book also has a good bit to do with race issues, which 1955.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So here is the Ba variant for it, showing a very satirical nuclear family from the 50s. And then we also have, this is the 1 in 10 Delandro variant. We're selling for $10. There is the 1 in 50 Dan Mora variant. We're selling for $50. See some of that 1945 art going on there. And then there's a one per store black and white version of that we're selling for $60.
Nice. Next up is a book. It's my my weekly check-in with Skybound X.
Yes.
The craziness that is Skybound X. I have loved this so much. I mean, talk about crazy. If you were to tell somebody that that was a Walking Dead cover, I mean, that's Rick with a extendable punching arm and a giant alien and everything. And that's kind of what's so fun about it. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. So, of course, the through story is Rick Grimes 2000, where he woke up in the future where all the zombies have been wiped out by aliens, and it's just this weird superhero world. Kirkman, I mean, I don't want to say it would never work as an ongoing series, but it's so chaotic and like plays off the kind of tropes of the original Walking Dead that this is the perfect format to tell a story like this. So every issue has kind of introduced like, hey, remember this from Walking Dead? You know, the one last time we got Andrea showing up at the end, but this time she's got like a giant 90s laser rifle. This one, I will go ahead and tell you, we get Negan back. And man, oh man, did they they have fun with Negan in this. I mean, if you can imagine that character, but in a futuristic setting, he's still just as horrible of an individual, but this time has a laser bat. So really, really cool. We see a lot of characters from the previous, like from the original series and locations, but kind of a what if it went this way scenario. So still loving Rick Grimes 2000. Can't wait to see kind of how it culminates. I'm sure it's going to be insane. But this also has the story in the Murder Falcon universe, which that series ended quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
So cool to see Daniel Warren Johnson back working on Murder Falcon. We have Science Dog, my personal favorite, the classic comic that Invincible read in Invincible was Science Dog, and in the TV show they changed to Seance Dog, but we get a full Science Dog story, and then we get a return to Assassination, the other Image series that ended a little while ago, so super cool to see that one back. We've got some great variants for this, and I love how they're variants based on the stories that are in them. So we have the Assassination variant. It's kind of like whatever series you were a big fan of, you can get a cover that represents that. We've got the Cory Walker Science Dog variant. We have the Daniel Warren Johnson Murder Falcon variant. It's a really fun one. And then, like all of them, they've been doing these, like, here's the 1 in 10 Johnson variant. These super clean lines of Cory Walker's Science Dog. So light you can hardly see it.
Yeah.
Those, all the 1 in 10s are only $15. We have the Hernandez Assassination. And then we have the Art Adams black and white of the main cover, which is a beautiful, beautiful cover.
You can really tell that Kirkman is writing this purely for himself and the fans.
Yes.
You know, it has that that just sort of joyfulness about the writing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Just like, I want to have fun. I just want, you know, this is the fun of comics. This is the stuff you can do in comics. Not taking yourself seriously.
It makes sense, though. You know, you want to, you know, Kirkman wants to celebrate that this thing he created in Skybound.
Oh yeah,
10 years of it. So.
I would be freaking out. I would do a weekly series for a year if I kept something around for 10 years like that.
Okay, so I read Extreme Carnage Phage this week. So, although this is considered a one-shot, it is really not. This is part 3 of the 8-part Extreme Carnage event that began in the alpha, and then part 2 was Extreme Carnage Scream. Now we have Phage. So you see Phage on the cover here. He is one of the Life Foundation symbiotes, along with Scream and the other ones. He is sort of red and gold colored, and he's very sharp. He's very jaggedy and sharp.
Yeah.
So I've talked about the last two issues, and one of the things I brought up is I've been like, I don't really understand what Carnage's plan is, and I suggested it's a secret plan, it's a mystery, and I'm not just missing in the writing. Yeah. Well, this one opens up like a lot of Marvel comics where they have sort of a catch you up paragraph, and in that paragraph they confirmed what I thought, like that Carnage's plan is a mystery that you will not find out right away. So by the end of this issue, you still don't find out quite what his plan is. You see what he's doing. I like that. I love trying to piece together what somebody is up to. And I have to say, personally, I still am not sure. So in this issue, Phage has been taken over by Carnage. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of blood and violence, as you'd expect from Carnage, because if Carnage has taken over Phage, who is full of sharp, limbs, that's not going to be good for anybody around. Andy Benton from the last one, Scream, she's back in this one as well. They have not forgotten about her. And so it really feels like the story is all tied together. It isn't just... I just didn't know what to expect as far as the one-shots being named after each one. So it is a continuation, just this time with Phage doing Carnage's bidding. He has some way he's able to take them over. We've seen that in the past issues. There is a scientist in this one, Dr. Steven, who is the head of sort of what the Life Foundation has become. He's introduced in this one. Another key player in this is this politician, what's his name? Arthur Crane. He is running for Senate. That was in the Alpha issue, and it's continued on. So he's against all aliens. He has started this organization called Friends of Humanity. He hates aliens. He doesn't like symbiotes. It's all because of what happened with Null. And his Senate run seems like it's doing well. Once again, I don't know how he fits into this, but he clearly, something to do with Carnage's plan has to do with the senator who seems diametrically opposed to what the symbiotes are. So I don't know how that's going to work out. He seems to be some sort of a Trojan horse character, perhaps. But very, very interesting. So a lot of mystery in this one. If you read it, and by the end you're like, I still don't know what Carnage is up to, that is intended. It's a good read otherwise, and I will say by the end of the issue, there is potentially a fairly major death.
Ooh.
If there's not a death, I don't know exactly how that's going to work. It's one of those last panel, oh, that just happened. But we'll have to tune in to the next one shot to see if it sticks or if something crazy happens. I mean, it's comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are all these, is the art for all of them different?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all...
Yep.
That's cool that they feel individualistic. You've got Phage and a certain art style for that and everything. Because, I mean, a lot of these characters don't know too much about.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to get to learn about them. That's why when I wanted to talk about it, I was like, the first thing I should do is tell people, here is what Phage is. He is these colors.
Yeah.
He also considers himself the alpha of all of the symbiotes. He thinks he's like the toughest one. He acts that way, and that kind of changes his decisions on things too. So he's very bold. But of course he's kind of under Carnage's control in this one as well. So we've got a couple variants to show. This is the trading card variant. So it's sort of red and gold. And then here is the Scotty Young variant. Scotty Young's been just pulling off a lot of great covers again. And we have this 1 in 10 Nakayama design variant that we're selling for $10. Yeah, he's a big guy, or big symbiote.
I think it's interesting about that too is I believe Phage originally was just yellow and black. So you saying that he's been taken over by Carnage, it kind of may lend to why he's got some red in there too. Because I believe the Scotty Young one, he's just yellow.
I didn't even think about that.
You're right. It's a But that's a cool way of thinking. Like, well, the symbiotes are kind of gloopy and stuff. That the colors could kind of mix, and you can see there's little bits of different ones in there.
Yeah.
I still say they're going to Voltron up at the end, and they're going to be this multicolored.
I can't even guess where
Where
this is going.
is
to
it?
tell you the
8
truth.
parts?
Yes,
Is that right?
it's,
Okay,
it's 8 parts.
cool. So next up is Superman and the Authority. This is another book that we've had a lot of questions about.
Yeah.
I mean, just even looking at it, you're like, this Superman doesn't look like the current version of Superman. And that's kind of my first thought about this. So this is by Grant Morrison. So, I mean, look at all of this through a Grant Morrison lens. Plus, the art is by Michael Janin, who worked with Tom King on Batman a lot, worked on Wonder Woman. Great artist. I mean, I feel like this is an awesome team. And you also have to remember Grant Morrison, the famed writer of All-Star Superman.
Right.
So this is a character he understands a lot. So going into this thinking about that, you get this Superman. We can kind of tell that this is maybe a little bit in the future. I'm still not positive that this is current continuity. So we know something's going on with Superman in the main continuity, that something happens where he's kind of out of the picture. We know that from the records in the future that Superboy found.
Right.
Something's going to happen that means Superman doesn't show up in any records. And we're getting close to that. So part of you reads this and feels, is this what happens? Because this Superman is seeking the help of Manchester Black, who, if you know, I believe the original story was Superman versus the Elite, or Superman Elite, kind of I believe an early 2000s Superman story, where they basically said, superheroes don't work. You need someone like the Elite, which was led by Manchester Black, to come in and just kill the criminals. We kind of almost need criminals to fight the criminals because what the Justice League are doing isn't working. This plays off of that idea, and it's very weird. That's why it makes me feel like, is this the same Superman? Because he's reaching out to Manchester Black, again, who is kind of one of his, wouldn't say his enemies, but someone that Superman keeps an eye on, because he's kind of a chaotic anti-hero, but in kind of the worst way. And Superman goes to him for help with the idea that I have the Justice League. We have tried and tried again to stop the villains, but it's not working. We've had Crisis. We've had all of these big things. Every time we feel like we got them, we've corrected things. The universe is back on track, and it's not. I need the help of someone else who is a little bit heavier-handed to take care of that, and I'm putting together this team, and I want you to be a part of it. So that the idea of what brought Superman to this point to ask for this character's help is very interesting, that I feel like we're going to have to unwrap over the course of this series, because this Superman also seems a little depowered. He even makes a note to Manchester Black about, well, I hover like this to keep that part of my powers active. Like maybe he's slowing down. So I don't know that, I can't say any of this is really spoilers because I don't know. This is all kind of speculation on, is this our Superman in the future? Is this another version of Superman from a different timeline? He's got not the main Superman symbol on his chest. This is more reminiscent of Kingdom Come Superman's symbol with like the single slash across it. It's a very entertaining issue. It is definitely tackling big issues like Grant Morrison does. It raises a lot of questions, but I feel like it is still very easy to read. Hasn't gone to the places that Grant Morrison's Multiversity or his Green Lantern has gone to. I know some people like Grant Morrison sometimes, and sometimes it can be a little too out there. I feel like this is a very digestible Superman, very understandable one. And I really like the first issue. I am definitely intrigued to see where it goes and how this ties in with everything, because You get some hints of current continuity, and you get some hints that maybe don't quite fit that puzzle. So, really cool issue. This is also just a mini series. I think it's maybe only 3 issues.
Oh, really?
It's a pretty short series.
Yeah, I can remember how many. I knew it was a mini series.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know they've released who else is going to be in the Authority. I don't remember right off, and I'm going to try to not remember so it can be fun when they show up.
I think it's interesting. Superman's putting together his subterfuge team in the Authority. Meanwhile, we have Green Arrow. He's put together Checkmate.
Yeah, they're just going to all have a fight in like a secret dark basement somewhere where no one can see who's there. We do get some of the team members on this variant cover, this Brian Hitch variant cover, that you can already kind of get the idea of some of the classic Authority characters. And then we have the 1 in 25 Bartel variant that we are selling for $30. And it's really cool they're doing this. It's very like the Federici variants they were doing for Batman and some of the Bat titles, black and white headshots. This time Bartel's doing one, and it's really, really cool.
Okay, so I read Flash 772. Andy and I have both been reading Flash. We've both really enjoyed Flash ever since it came back after Future State. So Wally West, of course, was getting tossed around through time. That story arc just ended.
Mm-hmm.
So he is just back in his normal life with his family. But he has a new regular modern day problem in that they're broke. It turns out that superheroing doesn't pay the bills. And I have to say, when you read comics, sometimes you just kind of have to go with the premise.
Yeah.
So here I'm reading this and I'm like, this guy is a Flash. He is part of the Speed Force. He can't find ways to make money. Are you kidding me? But you just have to go with it. He's just that sort of Boy Scout.
Yeah.
It even gets brought up sort of, hey, can't you just do this and this? And he's like, no, I won't do that. I got to try to live a normal life still. So the beginning of this issue, the first half, is Wally West going to job interviews by a really good writer, by somebody who writes it. There's parts that are funny, there's parts that are revealing. I like stuff like that. I mean, there's only so much you can have the Flash just run around. His life is interesting. So he's broke. He's trying to get a job. I'll say one part. Okay, this is as much as I will spoil anything. There's one part where he gets a job as a mechanic at a quick chain oil place, and he gets yelled at for not being fast enough changing the oil.
It's such a classic Flash thing. Like, Flash, why are you always late?
Yeah, it's great. But there is more going on in this issue, and that's one thing I've liked about all this new Flash. There's a lot of things going on in these issues. So there is a mysterious interlude. It is just a one-page interlude that is setting up something. Now, this happened before, several issues back, where there was an interlude showing something in space. Again, we get to see this thing flying through space, headed towards, presumably, our planet. That's going to have a big effect on the story. Now we get to see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not tell anyone what it is, but you got to see it. I really like that, though. I think that's good writing when you're just slowly letting people know this is going to be a big deal. Keep your eyes open for this. Lastly, on the cover, I really like this cover. You have the Flash villain Heatwave, whose name is Mick Rory. Well, Heatwave gets some very bad news in this issue that just sets him off on a pyromaniac rampage. And that is not resolved. That is definitely the main storyline, other than Flash needs a job. The last thing I'll say is Mr. Terrific appears in the issue, and he offers Wally West a different sort of opportunity as far as making money. So all that in this one issue. If you're not reading Flash, if you like Flash, you should be reading Flash.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say on that.
I love that idea of him going to job interviews, because that's kind of an older comics idea where you would see it wasn't always a big threat.
Correct.
You would get some of these like day in the life issues that really boosted kind of the characters, the other side of their life. So you cared more when they were in their superhero costume, because you're like, well, they got this other life too.
Yeah.
It really enriches the character. And it's funny too that, the question about how superheroes get money is brought up so much recently, where Harley Quinn
Yeah,
is asking
Batman
like
for
how
the
that
stipend.
in Booster Gold, it's brought up as well. One of the people's messages that they send is, "I heard that the Justice League pays $10,000 or $10 million a year," and it's like all these things of like no one really knows how superheroes get paid, and turns out maybe they don't, and they really need jobs.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of through line in DC right now.
And we are all sold out of the variant. So this does have a variant
Mm-hmm.
cover. I don't have it to display, but just want to let you know that there is one out there.
Next up, just getting back to some quick Star Wars news. This is Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 6. This is the beginning of the new story arc. We just ended the other story arc. Really, really good. It's going to be coming out pretty soon in a collected edition. Not a whole lot to say about this issue in terms of story. Because I mean, it's kind of, if you've been reading it, that's how you learn about these characters. But the big thing in this, there are, I believe, 4 first appearances in this that are pretty significant characters for people who are reading the novels. Which I kind of feel like the more layers you put on a character, they appeared in a comic, a novel,
For sure.
It builds up their kind of their foundation in the universe. And so a lot of these are characters from the novel Into the Dark that was published a few months ago. So we've got Tal Boda, who is a Jedi from even before the High Republic that we get to see, that was part of like the Great Sith Wars. We get Leox Gyazi, who is a pilot that's based on 90s Matthew McConaughey, which is, I mean, even when you see him, you're like, oh yeah, that's Matthew McConaughey. We have Affie Hollow, who is she is a Jedi that appeared in Into the Dark. And lastly, love him or hate him, some people are all into this character. Some people are like, oh, this just breaks it for me. Geode. He is a character from Into the Dark who is a navigator, but he's also looks just like a big square rock. And he doesn't talk, he doesn't do anything, but he's the coolest guy around.
Yeah, Andy showed me this character. I'd never heard of this character, and I had a dozen questions right away.
Yeah, and so it's a really cool, this character that has been talked about a lot if you're kind of in the Star Wars community about, is this breaking Star Wars to have this character? I think it is just in line with how Star Wars should be. You've got to always have some character that you go, now what's that guy? That's how Star Wars originally started out with.
The universe is a big place.
It's a big place. You had a cantina that had a giant praying mantis and a devil guy in it. And people had those same questions of, what are they doing here? Well, this just carries on the tradition. So definitely want to, if you're all into Star Wars first appearances, this has got a lot of them. Star Wars High Republic Adventures has had kind of the most first appearances of any of the Star Wars titles.
They're just grabbing all those first appearances.
Yep. We also have a 1 in 10 Kyriazis variant that we are selling for $25 with some of the young Jedi Padawans on there.
Okay, I read Miles Morales number 28. This is the end of the Clone Saga for Miles. This is the final issue of it. So some things definitely occur in this issue. I will say nothing too grim, though. So, let's see. Last issue... So there are 3 clones.
Mm-hmm.
There's Selim, he's the guy with the blades. There is Mind Spinner, he's the one with multiple arms and he can mess with people's minds. And there is Shift. Shift is the gloopy globby one. Well, Miles accidentally destroyed their laboratory. He thought they were doing something bad. Maybe they were, but some of their lab was so that they could create this antidote that would keep them alive. So this set Selim off. This is sort of the last thing for him because, I mean, they now have days, maybe hours to live. Otherwise, they just sort of disintegrate. So Selim has attacked Miles' family, and he has kidnapped Miles' infant sister. That's the stakes that this issue is on. So I can't tell you how it's resolved. I will say it does all get resolved. There's a big battle at a dam, and something does change that will stick in the story. I will also say that not all clone stuff is gone by the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, well, it's done. That's the end of
Yeah.
the clone stuff altogether. There does seem to be a character that is going to be sticking around. So
You can't keep a Spider-Man character around and not have a clone element floating around that could be brought in.
I doubt anyone could guess how this all kind of shakes out. Like parts of it, I think you can guess, but the part I can't say.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't guess it at least. So we have some variants for it, or just one variant for it.
Love
Here
this one.
is the Coella Captain America 80th Anniversary variant.
It's a real cool suit.
Miles, yeah, as Captain America.
I've liked a lot of those Captain America variants, and there's some really good ones coming up as well. So next up, one also not a whole lot to say about it, but did want to mention. This is Alien number 5, and I'm always on the lookout in the Alien books for new versions of the Xenomorphs. That's kind of the really exciting part is what weird version of a Xenomorph are we going to get? And this one is the first full appearance of the Alpha Xenomorph. We've seen it kind of teased here and there, but we haven't really got a good picture of it. It is in this, and if you've been waiting for some of that all-out alien action, just super scary, everything, they're into that. And this one's really cool because also there's some other versions of the aliens that don't look super familiar and are pretty cool designs and everything. So another really good issue of Alien. We also have some really nice covers. So we have this one, I believe this is LaRocca, if I'm not mistaken. And I love this one because this one gives you a really good look at that new alien.
Would that be first cover appearance, maybe?
I don't know, because I think the main cover is that one. That's a kind of a better full body picture. It's hard to tell. It could have been one of the earlier ones, and you just don't see all the weird little bits hanging off. Background. So,
yeah.
But yeah, real cool issue of Alien.
Okay, so I read Legends of the Dark Knight number 3. This Batman book is cool in that it is told outside the main DC storyline.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Alfred's in it. Very refreshing to see Alfred in a Batman book. Very, very nice. He gets brought up all the time still, though. I'm glad they at least haven't forgotten about what happened to him, what Tom King put Batman through. So, at the end of last issue, Batman was captured by a new Riddler character named Quiz. We see Quiz on the cover right here. In this issue, we get not quite Quiz's origin, but we do get how does she figure in with the Riddler? How did they meet? What is she to the Riddler? Mm-hmm. And that was my favorite part of the story, to tell you the truth. I really like to hear how they met and who they are to each other. So if you pick this up, I think you'll enjoy that too. Batman also gets in a fight in this that is so brutal that when he gets back to the manor, Alfred drops his food plate. And Alfred's seen Batman pretty banged up a lot, but I mean this is bad. This is quite a battle that he gets in. Past that, the Riddler and Batman. The Riddler proposes a truce to Batman in this one so that they can take on a bigger bad guy who I will not reveal, even though they might be on one of the covers. The problem with the Riddler is, and any kind of truce you can make, is it for real?
Yeah.
Is it going to actually happen?
He'd be one of the most frustrating people to try to work with because
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know what he's going to twist.
There's also some really cool stuff with Scarecrow in this one, and I like all the stuff they've been doing with Scarecrow lately. And even though this one, like I said, it's not in the regular DC continuity,
Mm-hmm.
they're still making Scarecrow scarier than he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that's definitely the way to go with that character. And here is the Melina variant. This also ends the first arc that has to do with the poisonous gas gang.
Mm-hmm.
All of that gets resolved by the end of this issue.
Well, another really cool book this week. I read Gamma Flight #2. So for a while they had this cover, but with the character blacked out of it, so you couldn't see who it is. But if you read the first one, you know the big enemy at the end of the first issue is Scar, son of Hulk. And last we left him, he was depowered. Like a lot of the supporting Hulk characters a little while back all got depowered. So what has brought Scar back? And he's got kind of the Al Ewing. I don't know. It's going to be a certain look that when we look back on Al Ewing's run, that his characters had really weird things. You had that really skinny Hulk.
Yeah.
This Scar has kind of fingers sticking out of his head. It's very weird. So you know something's, you know, as your Gamma Flight team is like, Scar, what are you doing here? Why are you being evil? It's like you can be like, you should also question why he has fingers sticking out of his head. Like that could be a hint that something's up here. But the mystery in the first one is these kind of gamma powered individuals were showing up, and the gamma wasn't quite taking to them. You know, Hulk was a kind of a perfect storm of getting turned into that and the gamma radiation not just killing him.
Right.
Well, when other people try to do this, I mean, other than all of the other Hulk supporting cast, it's really messing up some people. So they ran into one character like that in the previous one. And this one, we learn more about who's behind these kind of gamma experimentations. It's really cool. It is a lot of action in this one. You get a great throwdown between the Gamma Flight and Scar, but also the ending is really interesting with who's behind it and how they're doing it, which is, I mean, very much an Al Ewing style, kind of gross. You know, he's got the body horror that Al Ewing has brought to Hulk is you know, going to leave a lasting legacy on Hulk, and that is still in here as well. So really cool issue, Gamma Flight #2. And we also have this variant, the Pacheco variant. You see Puck punching this man in this suit. Those are something else that I don't know if we haven't seen them in this form before, but kind of a new cool minion that they go up against in this issue.
Okay, so I read Thor's Annual, which comes out tomorrow. It is a part of the Infinite Destinies storyline. I've been reviewing all of these. The Infinite Destiny storyline is supposed to show us what is going on with each Infinity Stone. The Infinity Stones, they have kind of melded with people in different ways. And I have to say, having read several of these now, some of these are sort of vague. Like this one, for instance, it seems to be about a character who may be using the Reality Stone, but they don't come out and show it or really say that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to sort of piece that together. So this is written and drawn by Aaron Kuder. Aaron Kuder, I know his art. I hadn't really read much by him. Mm-hmm. He should do more writing. The writing was very good. This actually took me longer to read than I think anything else. It wasn't too wordy. There was just a lot of story he wanted to get into it. So it begins at a lot of the story takes place at a feast in honor of the end of the War of the Realms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. You know, that this event isn't just forgotten. They now have a holiday to celebrate the end of the War of the Realms. The art is beautiful, I have to say. I mean, you could tell he's been wanting to draw what it would look like in Thor's realm,
Mhm.
especially during this party period. So a lot of great art to really look at. There is a new villain who it is their first appearance. I don't know how much it's going to matter or not, but there is a new villain who seems to wield powers like the Reality Stone, who takes on Thor and does all kind. I'll say this: the issue begins very beautiful, and then it gets very trippy.
Mm.
Which I mean, it's the Reality
Reality
Stone,
Stone,
so it
yeah.
makes sense. So the second half very trippy. I had to read certain parts a few times, but not because it was unclear, but because just all bets were off on what could
Mhm.
be happening. So I thought it was a cool issue, but it is not one you can blaze through or blast through. This new villain who I speak of, they're not necessarily dead or anything at the end. So will they be back? Maybe, because I know Marvel's been saying that once they're done with this, they are bringing the stones back.
Mhm.
Something's going to happen. And so anyone who is in this might come back. I don't know, really.
Yeah.
The backup story, they keep doing these Nick Fury backup stories, which is just a few pages. The backup story was interesting because it brings in elements from Heroes Reborn,
Mm.
which I thought, okay, Heroes Reborn, I had a great time reading it, but I thought it was done. They hinted at the end of Heroes Reborn that at least one character was going to continue trying to bring back that reality, and that is directly in this. Like, it is going on. Somebody is trying to bring back the Heroes Reborn reality. So will all this culminate with the Infinity Gem stuff that's coming up? I don't know. But I do have to say, I'm probably one of the only people paying enough attention to catch all this.
Yeah, they're weaving a very complex
Yeah.
web that goes through all of these different stories.
I know. So, that's my review of Thor's Annual. And here we have the Ron Lim variant. Good old Ron Lim.
And
Oh, I have one other too.
oh yeah,
There's also this 1 in 25 cherished variant that we are selling for, what was that, $35.
the thing to know about that too is you may want to check with your comic book shop because they don't always pull annuals for people who are on the main
Yep.
series, especially like this one. We didn't. It's not by Donny Cates. It's not by the normal creative team, and so a lot of people, if you ordered as many as you have on Thor, and a lot of people don't want it, you're stuck with a bunch of copies. So it's very
Right.
hard for shops to determine how many annuals to order, especially when it's not by the same creative
Yep.
team. So you'll want to definitely check with your shop that they pulled it for you. If they didn't, to ask for it if you want it.
And this issue definitely has nothing to do with the current Thor
Right.
storyline.
I would say if you've
It's
been
still
getting,
in canon,
yeah.
but it is nothing to do
if you've been
with
getting
that.
all the other annuals, of course you'll want to pick this one up too in the
Right.
long string of those. But it's kind of it's a weird cross section that's going across these books instead of going through just one.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is, let's see, I'm going to talk about this one real fast. Radiant Black number 6. So I have loved Radiant Black. It has been such a cool book. I really like independent superheroes because I feel like they're always, we know the superhero tropes and everything, but with the independent companies like Image, we get very unique takes on them, and this has been really cool and very surprising as it goes on. And the previous issue, number 5, ended the kind of first big story arc that's had a lot of twists and turns. We do know now that there is Radiant Black, but also he went up against Radiant Red, and maybe there's some more Radiant colors in the Crayola
names.
box. And this issue actually focuses on the origin of Radiant Red, which I love that when they initially showed up, you're like, they're a villain. I can tell. You kind of have all these preconceived ideas of who this character is, where they're from, what their intentions are, and come to find out, maybe there's more to their story, and that is this. So it has a guest artist, LaFuente, who really, really cool art, and a very... this series has done a great job at the personal moments as well as the superhero moments with our main characters. But that's the same with this one. We get a lot of backstory on Radiant Red, not just like doing, hero and or villain things, but kind of their home life and how maybe they relate also to the other main characters. They maybe have similar backgrounds and everything. So, I mean, if you're not reading Radiant Black and you like this independent superheroes, very well told superhero stories that have a personal side to them, a lot about their secret identities and stuff. This is a great series for that. I think the volume 1 should be coming out pretty soon for Radiant Black, and you could jump right in with this one as well. And I kind of like, as a storytelling motif, we left off the first story arc with a lot of questions and kind of characters hanging in the balance. And then we get a one-shot story, so we're left even longer wondering about this character. So it's kind of a fun, like, builds the drama, but you're still getting issues of it. So really cool issue of Radiant Black.
All right, so I read Reptile number 3. For those of you who are fans of Reptile, this is a pretty important issue because by the end of it, you will learn the fate of Reptile's parents. That's sort of the main mystery with Reptile, is he got this power with his parents who vanished and are presumed dead. You will learn their fate by the end of this issue. So I'm really glad this series, I thought it was going to take having to read the whole thing to get to that, if at all. So I'm really happy they have it in there. So Reptile follows Beto. He, of course, is Reptile. And he has his 2 cousins that were introduced in the first issue, Julian and Eva. Eva has been learning magic. And I stuck away some of issue number 1 because I was telling Andy, there's not more than like a dozen major magic users in the Marvel Universe.
Major. There's a lot with all of like Strange Academy, but like notable, household name magic users. It's pretty small. They tend to go more cosmic than magic.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that's pretty neat. They were creating this new character who uses magic. Well, Eva uses a bunch more of her magic in this. It wasn't a one-off. She's using it all over the place. Also, I like this issue a lot because it finally does the thing that anyone who reads Reptile wants to see, and that is Reptile turns into a bunch of different dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
To help them do things, to help them fly, to help them jump, to give them stairs to walk up his neck. That's one of my favorite parts of this, and I'm glad they did a lot of that in this one. So in this issue, they decide they're going to break into this millionaire industrialist house, who is a mysterious character who might know about the fate of the family. So that's kind of the main thrust of this. And I think that's about all I have to say on it. Pretty important issue overall. It's been a very fun read, and I feel like Marvel is building this character into something.
Do we know how many more issues there are?
It's either 5 or 6 issues.
Okay, yeah.
So we're halfway through the series. And here is the variant by Terry Bloss.
It's a very cool variant. Interesting costume and stuff.
Yep.
Next up is another new number 1 from DC. They rolled out quite a few number 1s this week.
Really did.
It's Shazam. This is 1 of 4. This is by Tim Sheridan, the same writer as Teen Titans Academy, which I think is very fitting because Billy Batson goes to Teen Titans Academy.
Yep.
So this definitely is for, if you're reading Teen Titans Academy, I mean, you'll probably want to pick this up because I feel like it's going to be, maybe Teen Titans Academy will reference stuff that happens in this. But I would also like to see a lot of miniseries about all the different students. But this one is cool because, of course, we had Future State Shazam with some pretty crazy stuff that had been going on. Like, Billy Batson was in hell and Shazam was like a member of Justice League of America and some craziness. Well, I feel like this is kind of touching on some of those topics. We may even see how some of that may play out by the end of it. But in this, the Rock of Eternity, the thing that gives Shazam his powers, has gone missing. And because of that, his powers are kind of on the fritz. You know, we even see Billy at one point run and jump out a window and say Shazam, and it doesn't catch till right about he hits the bottom, and then he launches off. So it's a very kind of flickering powers. It may go out midway through it. And this is not just happening to him, it's happening to his whole family too, because of course they get their powers from the same source. And so we get some more of we don't get the whole family in this, but we do get some key members of it uh, also confronting Billy about, you know, he's got responsibilities with his family and with the whole like magic scene, but also he's at Teen Titans Academy, and his kind of trying to balance those two worlds is explored in this. So really cool issue. Definitely a setup issue, kind of showing you these are the problems that are currently going on, and it'll be interesting to see by the end of this, does future state come to pass? Are Billy and Shazam officially like ripped apart and being two separate individuals, or is this gonna figure out some way to circumvent that? We'll just have to see. It's only 4 issues. I think that's a good size for this story, and yeah, really really cool. Also, great variant cover. This is the Gary Frank variant.
I was kind of joking that Shazam's only a 4-issue miniseries because Shazam series are just cursed to be so late.
Yeah.
They had so many problems with delays on the last one. They were like,
yeah, the last
let's
series,
only commit to 4 this time.
The last series was really good by Jeff Johns
Yeah, it
and Dale
was.
Eaglesham, but this one definitely feels more in continuity. That one was definitely like a pretty self-contained Shazam story. This one feels like it's definitely running side by side with Teen Titans Academy.
Okay, so I read Captain Marvel 30. This is sort of an extra-sized issue, and it is the end of the storyline arc with Ove. So let me explain. I haven't talked about Captain Marvel in a while, and this is a pretty wild book. So Captain Marvel got flung into the future. This is not happening in this book, okay? This is like background.
Yeah.
She got flung into the future. I think the year was 2052. And Namor and Enchantress had a son named Ove who was running things with an iron grip. All right, well, she finally makes it back to regular time, but Ove has come with her.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so this happened previously. And so she's still trying to stop Ove, and her main problem is she has this weakness to magic.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been told that until she can get over her weakness to magic, she will lose.
Mm-hmm.
So she tries to get Doctor Strange and people to teach her magic. No one wants to teach her magic. Finally, she goes to our timeline's Enchantress. Now, bear in mind, this is Ove's mother in the future.
Yeah.
So Enchantress doesn't know she's related to Ove. She goes to Enchantress and says, hey, I need help against magic, but I don't really want to tell you why. And Enchantress decides to help her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. But so this issue, this is where we're starting from. Enchantress is going to help Captain Marvel out. More stuff happens for those of you who are keeping up, but that's just enough that I could talk about now. So Enchantress is going to help Captain Marvel unknowingly do something that is going to kill her future son. Like I said, pretty wild book.
Yeah.
And obviously things do not go to plan in this issue. Ove shows up, and Captain Marvel is not... people are not the biggest fan of what she is up to when it all gets unraveled. And she needs help. She needs help from a friend from the past. And that's sort of the short review. That's the shortest I can say on that. There's a backup story with Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel. They haven't really hung out in a long time. And they have this long sort of hangout and conversation about things. So there is a backup story to this as well. There's some very cool variants as well. This one, so this is the Rob Liefeld Deadpool 30th Anniversary variant. Why is Deadpool creeping up on her like that? I mean, that is a creepy cover if you really look at it.
Yeah, he looks like he's about to scare her or something.
I hope so. I hope that's all. And here is, this is a great cover, the Momoko variant. And lastly, we have the 1 in 25 Dotson variant, showing James Rhodey. They had a little romance going for a little while. And next issue promises that she's going on vacation.
Well, she deserves it.
I guess so.
She's had a very complicated
yeah,
little
getting
while.
thrown through time, having to deal with magic.
Yeah.
Trying to get people's future moms to help you kill them.
Kill their future sons.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Justice League. This is issue number, I believe, 65. Yeah, so what's notable about this is, of course, this is by Brian Michael Bendis, and Bendis is a big fan of kind of creating his own little universe that he does a lot in. So a lot of books will reference other books. This one does heavily reference Checkmate, which he is currently writing, which I think is good. It's a very world-building thing. Also, we get some stuff from his Superman run in it. But the big thing in it is there is a revelation about a character, character I believe from Checkmate, the one of the mysterious characters in there, about who they actually are, and it's a pretty big revelation. It is heavily tied in to an A-list superheroes family. So you'll definitely have to check this one out. You never know. These kind of characters have a good chance of migrating to, say, the Supergirl TV show or stuff like that, because they're very easy to explain to new audiences. Once you read it, you'll see what I mean. But kind of comes with a lot of baggage and a lot of questions going forward, and I feel like this is a character that is not going to go away anytime soon. So big issue for Justice League.
See, I'm piecing this all together because I read Checkmate. I like that a lot. I haven't read that, but you told me who the character is, and now I'm like, oh, that's who that was in Checkmate.
Yeah, it's that character you're thinking of.
Okay. Interesting.
They went by a different name.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I only have one more to talk about.
Okay.
And that is White issue number 1, the second print, the one that people can get their hands on. That is out as of tomorrow. I did not get a chance to read this, but we like to let everybody know about issues we think are hot or you might want to grab. So this begins I guess this is the third arc from this universe. I don't know if this is going to be a 6-part series. The other ones were 6-parters, so I kind of assume it might be. Of course, the previous series, Black, has been optioned, and so just want everyone to know this second print is out. Look for it in your stores. I don't know if stores ordered enough or not.
This will probably be the copy. If people want it, they'll end up getting, because that first print, good luck getting it.
Yep.
So my last couple to talk about is I didn't get a chance to read it, but I am definitely excited about it. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 2 of 8. So this is the new Tom King run. The issue 1 definitely surprised me. A very different take on Supergirl, very different direction for her, but very interesting, and putting her in a kind of the spotlight in a way that we haven't seen her step up to a kind of, she's no longer that like teenage superhero. She's no longer Robin to Batman as Supergirl to Superman. She's definitely, as it says in the title, a superwoman now. She's older and has kind of all the responsibilities and stuff that come along with that. So very excited to read this one. Also, this one we have to talk about because we do not have any left of it. I had to pull this out of my own box to show it off, but we just found out recently that this is Savage Avengers number 22, has the first appearance of the Hyborian Age. Of course, it's Conan's ancient times that he's from version of Ghost Rider. And as you can see on the cover, this version of Ghost Rider rides a giant spider, which, I mean, if you could see that in motion, it would be horrifying. This giant skittering...
legs and fire and skulls and whips.
Also, the Ghost Rider has a really cool look, just like the character. Who knows if this is something that's just going to be in a one-off, like, flashback, because this does kind of have to do with some sorcery and some dreams and everything. but anytime there's a character that people think are cool, Marvel will find a way to put them in something. So we're sold out of it, but look for it at your stores because I think this is a pretty cool styled new character.
Okay, well, I think that is it. That is our show for the week. We hope that we have been helpful to you in learning about these comics that are coming out today and tomorrow. We hope when you go to your store now, you know what you're going to grab and what you're not going to grab. And if you're watching this on YouTube and we've been helpful at all, please hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Any final words?
Just
Yep.
check out this cool cover with Amelia Clark signed it. Yeah,
Just-
really
just-
cool.
Just $400.
Just $400, but it's really cool, and definitely give Mom a check.
All right. Well, we will see you next time.